Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my Sunday live stream where we talk about photography and what's new, what's happening. But today, actually, I do have a very special guest that I'm very excited to introduce in a minute here. But I want to thank everyone for coming in today. Hopefully, you're having a good day and things are well where you are. Um, but yeah, today I have Natalie Rosella with me today, and I found her on YouTube through one of the forums. Actually, I found her on one of the forums. People were talking about her, and I checked her out, and I was really impressed with her photography and her how creative she is with her both her photography and in her short films that she makes on her channel. And I do have links down below to all of her, I believe, all of her social media, including her YouTube channel. So I encourage you to check that out, after the stream, after we get to know her a little bit today. And I think you'll be as impressed as I was when I visit her channel and checked out her photography. And that's why I wanted to bring her on today is to talk about that creative process because a lot of you guys are like my age or older, according to my metrics, right? Everybody's and I feel really fortunate to be able to bring someone in a little bit younger that's just maybe not just getting started, but definitely um, uh, is up and coming. I think in the social media world, and I wanted to get a feel for her, like I said, creative process and her thoughts on photography to kind of get a fresh view, right, from somebody outside of our normal circle that I usually work with. Let me just see who's here. Oh, Barry's here. Music Sound Gear. Rick, good to see you. Cliff and Terry Noon, David Crooks. I did get your email, Terry, so I'll definitely get back to you on that. I can't remember exactly what it was about. Maybe the TG6 or something. And Druid and Zach, Stephen Page, Jeff Painter, good to see you. I think Jeff, you'll be really impressed as well. With the background that I know you have in the movie industry. The kind of short films that she does. And Macroverse, Bob Finley, John Follows, J Train. Awesome. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and bring Natalie in. And so you can see her. Let's see. Hopefully, everything goes without a hitch. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Hi, Rob. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here, and thanks, Rob, for having me.
Oh, it's an honor and a pleasure for me. Believe me. I'm very jealous of your photography and your creativity and the kind of and your short films. It's like you're doing it at such a young age, something that I've always wanted to do, but just never had. I don't know. I just don't have that sort of magic in my photography and videos. But why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and things that you want people to know about you.
All right. So, hello. My name is Natalie. I'm a photographer that is also an aspiring filmmaker, or I'm an aspiring filmmaker that is also a photographer. You can decide which way it goes, or I need to just figure that out as I get along. I started taking photos on my phone in 2018, and it kind of just spiraled on from there when I discovered this whole world that I used to believe was not obtainable to me. And when I realized that it is, that the software is there, that it's not just for people that went to school. I was in a very different background where I was really focused in my own tunnel of my career. And just that world of photography was just separate to what I thought was in my realm of possibility. And when I realized it was there, it was like this big explosion happened. And a few years later, I'm still taking photos and making videos and learning and just enjoying the process of sharing what I learn along the way.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really admire as well is that you want to share what you've learned so far. I've noticed on your channel that you just have the smallest things sometimes that just address one little thing and you're like, oh, I'm gonna make a video and tell people how to do this. And no matter how small it is, And that shows that you're really in it to help people, so you have a good heart as well. Um, 'Cause that and it'll show, because people can tell when someone is there, they're just there to get views, they're chasing the algorithm, but you're here to share your vision and your knowledge with people, and that's the other thing I really liked about, what I saw when I was checking out, again, your Instagram and your channel, and your website, and, I and this is a little bit harder question, but, um, when I was looking through your Instagram and your, portfolio, let me just pull up a little bit. Um, this is your Instagram, page here, and as I scroll down, definitely I feel, a very, very specific style here or impression. It's not just, random images. I mean, there are a lot of different subjects here, but each one has definitely a very unique feel to it that I think only you are able to produce. Um, like I love this picture here, the self portrait. This was an excellent. You did a video on this
Yes, yes, I
on
did.
this
Yeah.
particular image here, and you titled the image as something like "Getting to Know Your Lens." But I felt like that, really the content about doing self-portraits and talking about yourself was actually a much more powerful message, than just getting to know your lens. Um,
I think that perhaps um, that photo in particular I was very scared to share. So I think that turning the video into something that's a bit more, or it's a bit less personal than me, my face, my body, my self portraits, I felt safer creating that video in the context of also how you can use self portraits as not only a way to help you be more comfortable with yourself, but just also to just understand your lens a little better. So I thought that was a safer way of me presenting that topic. I think that was the strategy behind that.
yeah, um, and it works, and it's just a such a pleasure to watch your videos. They're very easy on the eyes in terms of like it's there's a lot of it's very fluid and very smooth. And, yeah, I just feel so relaxed, like, I'm gonna sit down with a cup of coffee or tea and just take a few minutes here and spend some time with you and get your thoughts on what you think about whatever it is you're talking about, in this case, about doing self-portraits and getting to know your lens. So, um, I recommend, all of her videos about on the photography side. There's a lot of videos if you're into, Adobe Premiere and some other technical things. If you want to learn how to do videography, she definitely has a lot to offer there as well. Um, in fact, that is one thing I wanted to ask you about because you didn't really say much in your video. Um, Let me see if I can stop this. There's a button somewhere to stop sharing a screen. Sorry, I'm not technical technical dummy here. Um, oh, how about that?
Uh,
Okay.
there we go.
What was I going to ask you now?
Something about you mentioned something that I didn't mention in one of the videos about
Oh
videography.
yeah, yeah. Like you'd actually won an award for it. Was it a short film or something? Tell me a little bit more about what that competition was and what kind of video you made for that.
So there's a music video director on Instagram called Kyle Loftus, and he runs Kyle Visuals. And I came across a short film contest, and it needed to be 1 minute long, and the 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 theme was hope. And I thought that it was an interesting thought to be able to get what hope is to me in 1 minute. And to be honest, I thought that might actually also be a very easy contest to enter because I love trying to explain these types of ideas and concepts in as little time as possible so that the so that the viewers don't feel like I'm wasting their time. So I thought that was a great topic. And I was lucky enough that I'd already had sci-fi inspired footage that I'd made. So my plus one, my partner and I, we did the voiceover, put it over an existing video that I had, and luckily the judges enjoyed it, and I won first prize on that.
Yeah,
I
that
don't know if you want me to tell you about the prizes I won, or I'm not quite sure what to say.
no, yeah, tell me about some of the prizes. It's always fun to hear. Like
So
Christmas.
the one thing I was most the main reason I really wanted that prize was I got a cine lens. So it was my first cine lens, a Dieso film picture zoom. I got the 20 to 55 T2.8. I got a nice little Rhino slider for my videos to get some nice dolly movement. I hit a blank. Oh, I got a Nan Light Forza 500, phenomenal prize. Lighting, beautiful lighting, excellent with the softbox, the whole shebang. And
Wow,
I won a subscription to Artlist, Artgrid.
nice.
Yeah, it
Yeah. I mean,
was
those are pretty substantial prizes, so the competition, I
they are.
imagine, was pretty stiff. Um, so for you to come out now, um, you talked about like you thought hope was a very interesting concept and a very easy one for you. You know, if someone
Well, it wasn't easy, but
Mhm.
I appreciated the challenge. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, it's okay. No, maybe I misheard you, but that's what I mean is like when someone gives you or you have an idea or someone gives you an idea like hope, you know, what is sort of your creative process or, you know, what do you start to think about when you approach something like that?
So with this particular one, Hope, I actually sat down with Julia and we just tossed some ideas back and forth, and the you come up with a general take home message that you probably want to end off with. What's going to be the crescendo of your film? What's going to be the reveal, the aha moment? And for this particular, whatever hope is to you at the end of the day, probably for everyone, it's a promise of a future. So once you identify that one element, you kind of build up to that, and then you identify that crescendo or that boom, and then you have that be where the music goes silent and you say it, or where everything goes colorful, or something like that. So it would some. I hope I answered that question properly.
No, that was perfect because I'm at a total loss. So let me challenge you a little bit. Like if I asked you to come up with a photograph,
Oh,
okay? I hate to put you on the spot, but this happened to me last week. Is and
okay,
the
hit me.
assignment is the color blue. And the only thing I can tell you, it doesn't have to be something blue like a sky or a bird or anything. It can be a feeling or a mood. But if all they told you was blue, now go take a picture. Where would you start? What would you think about maybe?
I don't know if I just wanted to go straight, direct, literal. Maybe I would. I live at a beach. Maybe get that beautiful blue sky with blue
Mhm,
water and find something to sort of create some sort of contrast between those two blues. But have
mhm.
I don't know. Or if I wanted to go maybe a bit more deep into it, maybe a self portrait of, or maybe a photo of somebody that is appearing maybe introspective, so not necessarily sad, but and I don't want to use the word depressed either, but when I think blue, I do also think kind of like, if I'm thinking in terms of deeper concepts, I'm thinking of possibly someone that's not particularly happy. But
Hmm.
that's just my
Yeah.
interpretation of it.
See?
Maybe.
And you did that like in 30 seconds.
Maybe.
I racked my brains for a week and I would have never come up
I
with that.
enjoyed I enjoyed your submission. I saw your submission
Oh, the
with the blue
axe.
sky, and you broke it with the orange axe. I
Yeah.
yes. I
Yeah, that took me a
enjoyed
week
that.
to come up with that. I mean, I lost a lot of sleep this week just trying to think of something, and that's all I could come up with is sort of like a poster from a movie. But, I did put some thought
I
into it,
thought
I
it was
guess.
good. I thought it was smart.
Thanks,
And
thanks.
shifting the white balance, I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, there were some technical things. I mean, when I come up with a project, I try to think of it in terms of how can this be educational and also be challenging to me, right? So, I'm always looking at it from 2 angles, like, how can this be educational and how can this be challenging? Because yeah,
Mhm.
like when you started your answer, you were like, "Oh, blue sky, blue water," right? But then you got really deep very quickly. And that transition from, thinking of blue objects to something more abstract is really difficult for me. Um, and that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Maybe you can share some of your inspiration and things. But okay, so you said you like my photo, but what do you think makes a good photo? Like what when you see a photo, what do you think makes it good, or what kind of things do you look for?
I guess I'll start off with the diplomatic that this is completely subjective and nobody's actually wrong and nobody's right and everyone's
Mhm.
wrong and right and all the combinations. But that for me, I enjoy a photo that packs a punch, whether it be a punch in color. I really do enjoy color. Um, Punch in contrast. I something to break that up. People can lean on.
Oops, you got a little
I think at the end
choppy.
of the day,
Uh-oh. I think we may have lost you.
would you like me to? Oh dear, I've
Hold
got
on.
you. I can hear you. Do you want me to?
Okay. No, no, let's
Am I
let's
back?
just yeah, you're back. Let's just give it a couple of seconds to kind of catch up.
All
Um
right. It
I
got a
think
bit choppy for me as well when you were speaking earlier on. So hopefully it
okay.
recalibrates.
So go ahead and
Am
just
I
start
back?
over one
Oh,
more time because we only caught a couple of words of that.
all right. Well, first of all, that it's completely subjective, and that I feel that I need to throw out that diplomatic answer first before I go forward. But for me, have I gone choppy again because you've disappeared? Hello,
I'm sorry, you're fine. You're fine. I
hello.
just took myself off the screen.
Okay, you're off the screen, but
Yeah.
okay. So I enjoy a photo that has a punchy color. So I enjoy vibrant color. I enjoy contrast, but not too heavy, but like nice contrast that actually is more about the deeper shadow more than the bright highlights. But with regardless of any factor that anyone may have about what makes a good photo, I think that if you're walking somewhere and see a photo and you stop and take a double look, or if you're scrolling through Instagram or on a website and you stopped just to look at it again, even if you just look at it again once and then keep on, I feel that that if you feel something, if it makes you think about something, it makes you if it evokes an emotion, I think you can throw away all the factors, all the technical and theoretical factors that one might believe makes a good photo, and it can still be a good photo.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely one of the themes that I got uh while trying to learn a little bit more about you is you definitely look for something that makes you feel something or makes you think about something and you take a picture of it. Um and that's you know kind of segues into, how do you find your inspiration or ideas when you're out doing your photography? I think like in one video you talked about you're taking pictures of something in your backyard and you did some amazing photography just right there. But where do you find your inspiration generally and new ideas?
I've kind of been worried about a question like this because I can't actually pinpoint something that's my inspiration. But I think if I were to condense all the inspirations, it would be learning. If there's something that I want to do in terms of photography or video, how can I do that with the stuff that I have? Can you do that with the stuff that you have? The answer is probably yes. How are we going to do that? And I'm inspired by by taking in that information and then doing something with it and surprising myself. Or I'm also just inspired by color. I think I can just be walking, and if I see a spot of pink somewhere, be like, oh, and I won't necessarily want to take a photo of that, but I'll want to take a photo of something, and I'll want to throw some pink in there. It, it could be just that spot of color that made me think, oh, I like pink today, or I like yellow combined with pink today. Or I think I'm also quite inspired by my own kind of negative thoughts. And I don't know if that's a defense mechanism of some sort where I am my own worst enemy. And I've sort of kind of had to just become friends with that and to use that to just express myself in the hope that maybe, and this is another inspiration for me, or another source of inspiration, is the possibility of connection. If I express something, can will someone connect with that, and can we connect on that topic? Or so I guess I'm inspired by a bunch of things, but I guess having a goal of connecting with someone that might have similar thoughts, or if someone says, I feel that I actually have those thoughts too. I like the idea of that.
Wow. Wow. So when you're, when you're doing your photography, and I'm not talking about just for fun, we all do that, but when you're thinking about your photography, you're thinking about two things really. Um, it seems like it's like what you're drawing from some negative things in your own life or your own feelings and trying to express that. And that seems like more of a personal type photography, like the self-portraits you did, I think. And then also you're looking for photography that you see something that might have a message and you think someone else might have a similar idea or message that you would feel, something in common with. So you take a picture of that as well to say, "This is how I feel. I think you might feel the same way." Am I following you kind of
Yeah, yeah, you are following me. It's also it's almost like me trying to protect myself from feeling a bit um egotistical and arrogant about the fact, oh, I'm taking this photo and I'm sharing it with the world. I wanted to, in addition to it being satisfying for me to put that photo out and be like, look what I've done, look at this photo I've made. Maybe it can add some value, whether it be they just enjoyed looking at it or someone connected with it. If I'm adding some value of some sort to somebody else, that would be cool.
Wow, wow, and
So it's
that's
a whole range of factors, from deep to also to just wanting to just give something. That sounds so arrogant as well. I'm going to give back to somebody, but just just kind of trying to make myself feel like I'm not all that arrogant as identifying as this artist.
right, right. No, you're not coming across that way at all, believe me. I think that's really amazing because I never think like that when I go out and do photography. I'm a very technical photographer, because professionally I do like architectural photography, and I'm always thinking about getting my lines straight and the angles and the perspective. And the only thing I need to communicate is information about the property or the building, right? So when I go out and I do, like, I went on a photo walk this morning, my thoughts are on the waterfalls that I went to some place they had waterfalls and trees. I'm thinking, how can I communicate what this place is about, right? But I never thought about communicating, how, if someone looks at this, how will they feel, or what, what inspiration might they get from this image? Or, I it just doesn't occur to me at all. And uh, there's a really interesting question here from I'm sorry, you were gonna say?
It doesn't always occur to me either. Sometimes I'll see something and I think it's nice, and I want to make a nice photo out of it. I don't know if you noticed,
Mhm.
I do a lot of heavy editing, so
Yeah.
I see something and I want to turn it into what I want it to be, and through that process, it comes. I start identifying maybe more introspective aspects to it, but I wouldn't say that I always go out looking for something emotional to convey. But because of being in my head a lot, it kind of just happens as it's happening, but it's not really planned. I don't know, I hope that
Mhm.
makes sense.
No, it makes sense, and the part the little bit earlier you were saying how you see something and you really wanna present it in the best light, right? And make it as beautiful or as nice as you can, in your editing after the fact. Um, and I think we all try to do that a little bit, but I think it seems like you see beauty in everything, and you can do that, and you want others to see that, and you do it through your editing process, I think. Um, let me put up this question here. I thought this was interesting question
I do.
here. Oh, go ahead. Um, I don't know if you can read that.
Okay, where are you
Says you
based? You mentioned a beach, and how
mhm,
does your location affect your image making? Alrighty. I'm based currently, I'm staying in Cape Town, South Africa. This is my hometown. I also live in London, which is where my partner is. We go back and forth. So it's kind of half half, quarter 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 type of thing going on. Um, you mentioned beach, and how does that location? So the location itself, Cape Town, in summer is warm, it's lovely, and warm weather affects me amazingly. I can do project after project after project after project in warm weather, and when Cape Town goes gray and cold, I do struggle with that, which is where kind of Cape Town affects me in the way that I can really tell the difference between motivation and discipline. So in summer, I really am driven by motivation, and then in winter, it really comes down to discipline of just continuing doing what I want to do, even though the weather's completely affected my mood. Yeah.
wow, wow, that's something discipline. I think that's something that, a lot of us need more of, right? Get out and practice and practice our craft, uh, whether we want to or not sometimes because of the weather and stuff. And I
Yeah.
like
So
how you Mhm, go ahead.
I never don't enjoy it. Sorry for interrupting. I never don't enjoy it, but sometimes you'd rather just stay inside, or you'd rather stay in your pajamas because you can work from your laptop. But then then sometimes you just got to have that shower, put on your shoes, take the camera, put the lens that you want to use, and just go do it. And before you know it, hours have gone by because you just had the discipline to just do that first little thing, and then the rest was motivation. And being disciplined is not that hard if you just do those little things, those little steps. Just go and do it, and then it's done.
Yeah, I love that, comment you made on the one video I watched where you talked about how after you were done shooting on the beach that you couldn't feel your fingers when you were all done, but you didn't notice that until you were done. Um,
Yeah.
that that is somebody that I think is really into, really has a passion for something, and they're ignoring a lot of the things that would distract me. Man, if I'm cold, like I'm cold now, I'm very distracted. But I um I really
Yeah,
like
for
that.
having the camera in my hand.
Yeah, let
Sorry,
me
there's a lag, but yeah, no.
go ahead.
No,
Whoops.
you go ahead.
I was trying to pull up just one of your images here. Um, this is the picture of the beach, and there was a lot of trash washed up on the beach. And then you have a second image behind this, and this is on your Instagram. It looks like you actually printed a book. So first, tell me, just give us that story again about uh, what what you were doing, and then how you got to these images, and then also tell me about why you decided to print maybe a book. It looks like.
Yeah. So I'd made a plan with a friend to meet up just before sunrise because I had a few shots that I needed to get for a short little piece that I was making. But she overslept and she wasn't answering a door. But she happens to live right on the beach. So I just took the camera out and walked to the beach anyway. And I thought I'd take some photos of Table Mountain because the moon was out still. So the sun was rising, but you could see the moon by Table Mountain. So I was just taking those photos. And then naturally, when you're there, you just go down to look at the tide, see what's happening on the beach, if you can find any shark's teeth. And it was just this complete catastrophe of I'd never seen the beach like that, and that was my hometown. Um, so I just walked around just to take a look because it was just really like a little. It was a little creepy. I just needed to take a look and see what was actually out on the beach. And then I saw I came across this red teddy. And then when I saw the red teddy and how creepy and how beautiful it was, and I was like, oh my god, like take the photo. And then I realized like, oh my goodness, there are photos everywhere here that I can take. And then I was there for hours just taking photos. Then my friend eventually came to join me, and yeah, I was just so it was sad to see because a lot of that wash up was trash. It was litter. It was a lot. So it was sad to see, but at the same time, I was having an amazing time with the photography. So I was quite conflicted by that, and the I was so happy with the photos that I got, and the experience entirely as a day of photography was such a positive one for me. So I just after the editing, I thought to just make a book of it to just as a little reminder. So I just printed a book, and yeah,
Yeah, and I that's awesome. And I think, you do have a whole video on this particular uh photos that you took. I mean, you weren't necessarily thinking about making a video, I guess. You were just out there to take some pictures for, I guess, some other project, and this came upon you. Um, and then you found it worthy of printing a book. Um,
for me, yeah, the book was
mhm.
more just a reminder of how I felt. I really did enjoy that morning. It was just a good
Yeah,
experience for me. So I wanted I just it was enough. There were enough
right.
photos to make a nice little book for myself.
Yeah, and I assume this book is just for your own personal viewing pleasure, right? You don't have this like available for sale or anything, or do you?
No, no,
Yeah,
I
and that
don't. I just printed one copy for myself.
yeah, and that's awesome, and that's something I want to start doing myself. Is just I was thinking about going to Blurb or one of those online book publishing type things where they can do them one at a time and just have them for myself and have my own bookshelf. Not necessarily it needs to go out for sale for anybody. It's just for my own personal enjoyment. It's really another way to really enjoy this craft is to print your photos and create books, even do short stories and short
Yes.
projects. Um, but that brings me to actually another question is, do you have because do you have like any formal education in photography and video, or are you self-taught?
Given what the internet can give us now, I feel like I'm cheating a little by saying that I am self-taught because I learned everything through YouTube and Google and stuff. When it comes to photo and
Mhm.
video, I learned everything predominantly YouTube.
Okay, so self-taught because I can watch videos, and a lot of people watch videos all day long for weeks and weeks and never go out and practice or take pictures. But you're definitely you're
Yeah, that's
putting
a good
into
point.
practice everything you're learning and more. Um, which this question here from the viewer, I think, is sort of relevant to that. Um, I'm having trouble reading it myself. Let me pull up the other page. I'll try and read it out loud for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you've used
Photographers
cell
seem to
phone. Let me
promote.
just read it out loud for the viewers here. Natalie, I'm sure you use cell phone just as many other young people at the beginning of your passion. What made you switch to a camera, or do you still use a phone to take images?
I still use my phone to take images. Phones take great photos. If and But yeah, I started with my phone, and I decided to get a camera when I realized that there's a point where gear does matter. So I switched over. I made the choice to switch and to get myself a dedicated camera for my photo and video projects. It was the right time, and it's something that I felt. This sounds spoiled, but it's something I felt just needed to happen. So
Okay.
yes.
When did you
Would
get
you
in?
like me to answer the? I
Oh,
interrupted you. Continue.
there was another question, I guess, right? Oh, here's one. Says from your Instagram photos can be distincted work and lights and photo, and which part is your work most prefer, and how do you balance this? Okay, so I didn't read
Is
that
this a
too well.
question? I don't really understand the questions.
Yeah, let me just read it one more
There.
time for myself. I think the question is about uh, you work with lighting and you do a lot of photo editing. Um, so one is actually taking the images with lighting and stuff, and the other part is the actual photo editing after the fact. Uh, do you prefer one over the other, or how do you balance this? Or I think that's the question.
I enjoy I enjoy the challenge that comes with light manipulation. So using light to get the best that you can in your camera. I enjoy that. I enjoy the for me that is still a challenge. And I enjoy that challenge, but I can get completely lost and spend hours editing photos. So for me, I think the for me I relax editing photos. So I think I do much prefer the editing more than the technicalities of getting the photo right and stuff. Not that I don't enjoy that, but there is a massive difference between the enjoyment that I get from both.
Okay.
And I balance this by I how I balance this is that yeah, I do take care in when I've got the camera in my hand. I do take care to try to take a good photo, but I also just do a lot of editing, which is why I try in my Instagram, I just say artist because I do feel that some people might just feel that if I also do post before and after images often on my YouTube videos just to kind of be transparent about the fact that the photos that you see on Instagram are not the photos that are in my camera. I do heavy editing.
Yeah, yeah, and I think because that's sort of the like I said, sort of your honesty that you want to project. Um, Partially is your honesty and the kind of person you are, and also from an educational standpoint, that you don't want people to look at your image and say, "Gosh, I can never take an image like that." You're letting them know that it's not just the photograph, but there's
Yeah,
more work
exactly.
into it. And I
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
same thing, right? I tell them this is straight out of camera and what the settings were, or I say I did some light editing in post. Because for me, I'm not a big fan of editing. Personally, I mean, I don't mind if people edit, but for me, I try to avoid it at all costs because it's just grueling to me, and I'm a very technical guy. It's like if the camera is not capable of producing the image I want, um, what can I do to get the image I want without post processing? And that comes with the lighting and stuff. So I'm more focused myself on getting it right in camera, rather than combining the two and saying, okay, I got everything I want out of the camera. Now let's go into post and take this another level, right? which is what you do. You take everything to the next level. Not everything, but a lot of things to the next level to really bring out what it is you want people to see in your images. And that's what I like is in a lot of your videos you show sort
But
of the
having when
Mhm. Go ahead.
I interrupted you again. Sorry, there's a lag. Please do continue.
I can't. My brain just once I lose track, I have to stop. No, you go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead,
so
please.
I I'm so sorry. I wanted to just I was actually accidentally interrupted you to say that watching your videos and seeing your Instagram and you say I did a light crop and light editing, I was inspired to in in the near future start making more of an effort to see what can I do to get photos that I have what they look like now on my Instagram. What can I do to try actually get that more like that in camera? So that's all I wanted to say. I was inspired to actually get
Oh,
on trying to do that with my camera when I was on your Instagram and your YouTube channel.
yeah, and that's definitely so my message is getting out. I'm like, my message is, do the best you can in camera, and then you'll have a much easier time in post. But there's no substitute for the kind of editing that you do. Sometimes you really have to do a lot of editing to get to the final image that you want, because it's just there's things that you do in post that just are not possible in the real world. Um, and that's what I like is you can be very you can take your creativity to another level in post processing. Like I used to like doing composites a lot, and God, I remember I spent 2 or 3 days on one image just doing composites, and it wasn't long after that I got I was like, why am I doing all this work? But anyway, um, because I'm not, like I said, I'm a very technical photographer. I'm not really an artist or creative type. And it's because I don't feel like I have it. And that's why I'm very jealous of people like yourself that can just see an image in their head, possibly, and take the picture and then bring that to full fruition, what what you finally want people to see. Um, so I don't know if we touched on this. I did ask you that about the cell phone and stuff, but when did you actually start? When did you get into photography, and when did you know it was for you? Or tell me a little bit about that.
So I think it was 2018. I was on Facebook, just scrolling Facebook, minding my own business, and a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, I stopped and there was like it was him in the frame, and he was kind of looking down like this, and he had what looked like a control in his hand, and then he looked, and then the camera just started going backwards and then it went into the sky. I was like, "What? What is this?" And then I contacted him and saying, "What is this?" And he's like, "Oh, I got a drone." I was like, "What's a drone?" And then I went into drone, looked at drone, and then I just saw, okay, drones are expensive. They're expensive, but they're obtainable. Just if I plan things properly, I could eventually get myself a drone. Then you go watch you Google drone, which will obviously give you YouTube videos, and then in the YouTube videos, you suddenly enter this world of people making these beautiful videos with their phones or making these beautiful videos with cameras that are not out of my reach. And it just went from there. It just went from there. So I started taking things with my phone. What can I do
Hmm.
with my phone? I was up till like 4 a.m. editing little videos on iMovie on my little phone. And then when I think there isn't a moment where I realized photography was for me, but there was a gradual progression. But if in retrospect I can pinpoint a moment where photography was something that was for me, or I realize is that when I actually made the decision to buy a dedicated camera for my photo and my videos, because for me it just wasn't the type of thing that I would spend. That it was just it was expensive. It's an
Yeah.
expensive hobby to get into. And when I decided I that's what I was going to do, that's I think is the moment when I realized photography was for me
Wow. So
in retrospect.
sometime after 2018 is when you bought a camera.
Um, It might have been at the end of 2018 or the end of 2019. I think it was the end of 2018. I should have actually looked that up before coming to
No,
speak to
no,
you.
it's not I mean, we're talking just a couple of years a few years ago. I mean, it's not that long. And I think you've accomplished a lot, which is sort of a segue to this question from Christine. Um, you have a portfolio on Instagram and on your webpage where the photos appear very conceptual to her. Where do you want to go with your photography?
So, where do I want to go with my photography? I'd like to find a way keep the to keep these I'd like to find a way in both video and photo to kind of keep making photos and taking videos that do kind of answer certain questions that I have of, I guess, doubts that I have or negativities that weigh on me, questions that I have about myself and the world, not necessarily bad questions or good questions, but I'd like to present them in a way that even though there might be like heavy topics, in a way that people are more like, aha, or oh, or I, that's me too. Or so if I could kind of create more stuff like that, but kind of balancing that out with some sort of commercial value. How can you make some sort of product commercial that actually makes people feel something? I'd like to see if I could balance that, because at the end of the day, it would be nice to have, you know, companies or have people come to me for the style of videos and photos that I enjoy making to help them, sell their stuff or get their message out. I think that's the general direction I'd like to go. I'd love to keep I'd like to keep things the sort of how I am, but like obviously learn more along the way. But I don't like the
Yeah.
idea of just taking a photo of bubble gum. Not that there's anything wrong with that, or take a photo of shoes because they're nice shoes. I'd like to do how can these shoes be lovely, or how can these shoes tell a story? I don't know.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. So you want to take you basically you want to take your photography. I mean, you've started a business, um, and you want a photographer to be sort of your career, in other words.
Yes,
Um,
I'd like for photography. That's the goal. That's what I'm working towards. Yes.
yeah, and you want people to hire you for the kind of photography that you do, right?
Yes, I guess every photographer feels that way. You want to do the projects that you enjoy.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm the exact opposite. My photography is totally relying on what the client wants, right? Um, it's like, okay, they want this room, they want this angle, etc. So there's all kinds of photography, but I think the kind of photography that you're doing and videography, the kind of clients, you want them to have a presence on social media. And this is kind of what I gathered from your website. You want them to be able to convey their message and you want companies to convey the message in their own way, and they want to do it in the style that you have because they like your style, I guess.
Yeah, that would be ideal, but
Yeah,
obviously, if the company's paying, they ultimately get the final say. I'm obviously well aware of that, but it would be nice if people see the stuff that I'm doing and eventually
right,
say like, "Oh, we could use that style in our next campaign," or
right,
something
right.
like
And
that.
and maybe even like portrait photography or event photography, those kind of things. I think you'd be a really good fit, but I'm not a business person, although I have a business. But I will let you find your own path and not give you any advice in that respect. But I do want to give you some exposure though, because I think you deserve it. You deserve as much exposure as possible, so that people can see your work and hopefully uh, want to hire you for commission, right?
I
Um,
appreciate that. Thank you.
okay, so the other question is, I'm gonna I guess did we ask this one? Oh yeah, this one we finished. Um, I had a quick question though. Like you said that in 2018 you were just fascinated by your friend's drone. Uh, but before that, before photography, or when you got into photography, were you like an artist or creative in any way? Like, what did you do before that you found that photography would be the best way for you to express yourself? What did you do before that?
When I was a young adult, I thought that I would be an artist. I hoped to become an artist, but it just
Mhm.
wasn't. Painting, sketching, stuff like that. But it wasn't in the cards for me at the time. So I actually pursued a science career, and I studied for 10 years, and I was an actual scientist for a couple of years after that, and then after that, um, my partner encouraged me. It was one of those things like, you're going to do it now, you're going to do it later, but rather do it now rather than regret not doing it later. So it's a very fortunate position to be in, but I made the switch. Yeah.
So you're like a female version of Leonardo da Vinci, sort of an artist and a scientist. Um, this this is this is a this is a tough question, maybe, because you're so new. But are there any photographers that have influenced you?
I wish I could be one of those people that could just list out photo. I'm not there yet because I have a couple that I've seen, that I can remember right now off the top of my head. I think I only have one whose name I can remember off the top of my head. Lee Jeffries. I really do enjoy those portraits.
Hmm.
Um, there's another portrait photographer whose work I really enjoy, and I feel so bad that I don't remember his name. But the photography that really does move me, that I enjoy, is portraits. Those portraits that really accentuate a person's life on their skin. You can almost feel what they've been through in life. I enjoy that photography. When it comes to other forms of photography, I can't off the top of my head think of. As soon as we end this stream, obviously when I pack everything away, I'll remember all of them,
Yeah, of
obviously.
course, of course. Well, I guess you can always share on your social media when they come to mind, right?
Yes,
Um,
I can do
'Cause
that.
I'm not on Twitter, so I didn't look for you on Twitter, but
I'm not on
maybe you
Twitter.
can do.
I
I was gonna say maybe you could do a video about these different photographers and artists that you find inspiration from or really enjoy.
It's
That,
definitely one that I'll probably it's one that I will most likely do maybe in the next year. I just feel that I'm not yet ready to share that on the
mhm.
internet yet.
Right.
I
How about like other kinds of artists, like paintings? Do you like the older Victorian type paintings, or do you go further back or more Renaissance? Is that kind of art? Find
It's not
find that in.
really. I'm not particularly
Mhm,
drawn to those to that. Sorry, but I do enjoy realism, the technicality that comes with
mhm,
realism. Um, I love vibe. If it has, it doesn't matter what it is, but if it's got splashes of color, perhaps, or so
mhm.
I do enjoy. I enjoy street art, graffiti. You've got some very talented people with work on the walls when you go for walks in, especially like in London and stuff. I enjoy that. But
Okay.
I can't, off the top of my head, think of a particular style of art that I'm drawn to. I
Yeah.
enjoy pretty things that have color.
Right, right. No, there's no worries. I'm just getting into looking at um, fine art and Renaissance and surrealism, realism, and, paintings really. And so, yeah, if you ask me to name off anything that I've really enjoyed, I've enjoyed a lot of things, but I can't name any of them myself. I'm just starting. Like, oh, that was like I love that painting with the melting clocks. I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, but you can't
Yes,
name the
Dali.
painter,
Yeah.
right? Donatello? I don't know. Just make it.
Salvador Dali, I think it is.
Yeah, yeah, that guy, crazy guy. Um, but that I know exactly how you feel. I'm just getting started because I really haven't started photography until about 2012, 2013 myself. Taking it seriously anyway. But let me see. When like you say, you're kind of starting your business and you've only recently got into photography and videography, and you really I would have never guessed you just started from what I've seen in your photography and your short films and everything. Uh, but when you're trying to move this into being a business, um, have you run into any challenges, or um, did you face any
Um,
challenges along the way?
I guess with regard to starting a business, I'm not so into the business side of things to discuss business challenges, but in terms of personal challenges from the perspective of having moved from one career to another, I've I guess I should start off by saying that I am my own worst enemy. Most of 99% of all the challenges I've faced have been self-imposed. Um, it started off with, first of all, I was a, I was actually ashamed of myself for being in such a fortunate position to have studied my way through to this career and then switching, leaving that to try something completely different, to pursue trying to be a photographer and a videographer. It felt like such a spoiled thing to do. So there was shame and embarrassment on that. And also like embarrassment of I still don't actually tell people that I have a YouTube channel, and I don't know why. I just don't know why I can't. I just I know it's silly. I know it's silly, and I know I'm just being really dumb. But I don't think I've actually told anyone that I've met that I have a YouTube channel. I tell people that I take photos, I make videos. Even when you emailed me, when you invited me to speak to you today, at first I was like, whoa, wow, but immediately I was like, who do you think, what are you doing, like who do you think you are, going to talk about photography to photographers, and you barely understand 40% of your camera. So it's all these things. I think so. All my There's so many challenges, but they're all self-imposed.
Wow, that's interesting. Just a quick question was, I guess, what gear do you use and what is your preferred gear? You do have a video like called London Baby or something, but just tell us very quickly, what gear do you use?
I currently shoot with the GH5, and the lens that pretty much stays on that is the Lumix Leica 12 to 60 f2.824. And I invested in the S5, and the only dedicated lens that I have for that one is the Sigma 14 to 24 f2.8, and I find myself going back to the GH5 a lot of the time. So I'm predominantly a Micro Four Thirds shooter right now, but I do love that extra bit of freedom I have with the full frame camera.
Wow, that's exactly what happened to me. Is I'm primarily Micro Four Thirds myself, but for my paid work, I wanted to take my videography up a level, so I got the S5 to kind of keep me a little more competitive, right,
Hmm.
so to speak. But I do remember you do like to shoot manually focus sometimes, and you have a vintage lens. Tell me a little bit about that thought process, like, because you have autofocus. Why would you think about buying this old manual lens and adapting it to your camera?
Well, I am also a video shooter, and because I shoot video with a Panasonic system, the Lumix system, it's not particularly famous for its amazing autofocus in video. So as soon as I got the GH5, shooting manual focus for video was something I did from the very beginning. So the idea of finding this bargain, very cheap vintage lens that I knew would have to be used manually was not an issue for me at all for photography.
Right, right,
I mean,
exactly, and
obviously, autofocus is so much more desired for photography, of course, but it's okay. I don't mind shooting manual.
yeah, and you have a wonderful video about out of focus photos, I think, that really drives the message home that your images don't have to be in focus, you know? So, like I said, there's so many videos on your channel that I really enjoyed that I encourage everyone here, if you get a chance to watch them, take some time and watch them. I think you'll enjoy them as much as I did. And then here's another question, Natalie, from our viewer here. Christine says, "How does your science training inform your photography, if at all?"
So the science training installed a certain trait when you do. I it's There's a way of thinking that comes from science training that gets really like punched into your brain. The scientific method of questioning things, trying to understand, and not trying your best not to allow yourself to be biased within your best abilities. And I actually came from my last studies and my last career was actually medical imaging, MRI imaging, and understanding the physics behind imaging. So there's a lot of, if I want to read up on something about my camera and I find a more sciencey type of paper or an article that says little words here and there that maybe people without science and without photography training might not really understand. There are a lot of words that, not a lot, but there are some words that transfer over from MRI imaging that explain things that I can't think of the top of my head. But so there is that, but mostly the science has instilled a way of thinking, a way of approaching problems, identifying not everything is a problem, but identifying what actually is the problem and what can you do about it.
Yeah, and that kind of ties into what you talked about earlier about I have this gear. How can I solve this problem and do this particular type of lighting or scene or anything with what I have? You're
Yeah.
always problem solving
Yeah.
because science is all
Yes.
about this is what we know, but we're observing this over here. How do we take what we know and understand what we're observing, right?
Yes.
Um,
And also understanding, if I take some video or if I take a photo and something just didn't look right, like what did I do wrong? It wasn't the camera, it was me. What did I do wrong? Go
mhm,
through all the factors that could have affected what you're seeing, and trying not to make that mistake again.
yeah, that that makes a lot of sense. Very methodical, your approach to photography on one hand, but then on the other hand, I just amazes me how creative and fluid your short films are that you make. Uh, because I just
That's
watched it and I don't know. Tell me a little bit about that, and then I want to segue to one other thing, maybe to some photographs that we can share.
okay. So that also, I think the scientific training might help with that as well, because when you write a paper or when you present at a conference, you have a you have limited words or you have a limited amount of time, and I don't like the idea of wasting people's time. If someone clicks on my video, I'm trying to get better at not having them feel like, oh, get to the point. So if even in a short film that wants to pull at your heartstrings, I try be concise and I try use my words as efficiently as possible, so to not put too much in, but still trying to get that message and that feeling across.
Wow, wow, that is awesome because that's something I'm polar opposite. I'm very wordy, long-winded. Um,
And there's
I wish
nothing
I
wrong
could
with
do
that. It's just my own security on myself. Like, stop saying so much. So
right,
it's just
right.
it's all good.
But that's what makes you you, and everything that you are, your science background, your the way you think and how you feel all translates, I think, really beautifully into your photography and your videography. Uh, and I was just so impressed, and even more so now knowing that you've only been shooting more or less since 2018. Just it just blows my mind. And I think you're going to be really in the years to come, a force to reckon with in the photography world, if not the business world as well. Let me now you sent a few pictures. I didn't know if you wanted to share those now or talk about those.
Oh, I thought that the conversations might go towards the direction of maybe needing those or having those photos provide some visual reference, but um, we don't need to share them. But what we could share is actually the photos of the kite surfers. There's two. If you could put up the
Okay.
first one, it's called Challenge, Challenge One,
Okay.
Challenge Two, and it kind of goes in the towards the theme of um, what are my
Yeah.
challenges, and like the story of this one is
Okay, I'm sorry.
one of
Hold
my
on one
biggest
second.
challenge.
One second. 1 second.
Yeah.
Let me let me try and maximize this screen a little better. Okay, that's mildly better. All right, go ahead.
So
Natalie, it's all
on the
you.
topic of on the topic of challenges, one of the biggest challenges that I face is having confidence in presenting myself or identifying or introducing myself or just being a photographer. And a friend of mine just last week, he's kind of challenged me, almost presenting it as a favor to himself, that I try be more confident in just I've missed out on so many opportunities of what I'm pretty sure would have been amazing portraits on the streets. And this photo over here is just an example of me just being too scared to just be a photographer. So I was taking this photo from a distance. I was taking this photo from a distance of a kite surfer, and a guy was calling him or something. And then while I'm taking the photos, the guy in the yellow on the right hand side, he shouts out to me. He's like, "Hey, you got a camera? Do you want to take a cool photo?" And I ran away because I thought he was kind of joking at me and making fun. And I ran away, and I was so embarrassed and I was scared. And I went around the corner to like another rock to take photos from another angle. And that's the next photo. And I think what he was calling me for is because um, the the guy I think he was inviting me to come a little closer because they were about to do something really cool. And if you go to that photo, you'll see
Okay.
the
Once
if
I'm trying to get to it. Let me
no worries, no
oops.
rush.
Uh there's this one, the kite.
Down.
I'm sorry. Can you
It's
see
underneath the hands. It's underneath the hands.
this one?
That one there, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not a great photo, but if you can see, the kite surfer jumped over him and high fived him. And
Yeah.
I think he was inviting me to get closer, and instead I
This
ran away. I
oh,
don't think he So if I just if he'd when he'd called me, if I'd just gone forward and said, "Yeah, I am a photographer," he might have said, "This kite surfer is going to come high five me now." I would have gotten right there. I would have gone underneath him and gotten the shot from below.
wow.
It's just an example of just not having enough confidence to just say yes. Or there are so many I'm pretty sure they would have been beautiful portraits. I see people and I'm like, oh my God, I need to, why can't I just go up to, I should just go up to them and say, hey, can I take your photo? These are my details. I can send you the edited piece afterwards. I think you'll really like it. Stuff like that. I need to just start doing that, because the worst that can happen is someone just says, I'd rather you don't take that photo. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right,
So on
right.
the topic of challenges, I thought that would be fun to discuss or to
Yeah,
show.
that's definitely that rarely, if ever, happens to me. I feel like when I go out with my camera, I'm standing there with a bazooka trying to, destroy people because they just give me the stink eye, and I've had people gang up on me.
Oh,
And
really?
oh my goodness. It's it's very I can't think of one time somebody said, "Oh, you have a camera, come and take my picture." That just never happens. I would be so lucky.
Uh,
Um, and
oh,
then
if you'd like, sorry for interrupting, to show
mhm.
you some before afters. So those two roosters are the same rooster, and
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's
This
the
one?
yeah, that's the unedited photo, and then
Okay.
the other one below it is just the same rooster from a different angle, and
Mhm.
the other rooster one is just both of those together edited, just to show people that my photos are heavily edited,
Oh, I
and
see.
I
So
just
it's the
feel I
same
need to be
rooster.
transparent. Yeah,
Right,
I
right.
I just feel the need to be transparent about that. I heavily edit my photos.
Yeah, I think on your I I think initially as an if you're thinking about doing as an educator, right? This is very important to share your process. These are edited or these are not edited. I think in business, though, depending on what business is, I don't think they care. They just care about the final result. Um, but initially, I think it's good. It's good to be honest and upfront about how you came up with these images. But I think on the other hand, sometimes as an artist, it doesn't matter. This is your work. This is what you can produce. And the gear that you use and the software that you use, they don't care. They just want to see the work, and you're going to live or die by that, right? um, but okay, let's see. uh, this looks like another before and after these hands.
Yes, Julia wanted to draw some hands, so just took a photo. The main priority was the lighting on the hands, and then
And then you did this, right?
heavy edits, just a bunch of,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
editing.
Okay, and then I think this speaks to one of an earlier conversation we were having about how you took something that would otherwise be kind of a mundane image, but you did a lot of processing here to bring out what you found beautiful here.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite photos, because it was a dying flower. It was rotting on the sides, filled with these insects that make my skin crawl. I showed my mom the photo yesterday, and she's like, I don't feel good looking at this, but it's also beautiful. And I really I like that. I like taking I just really enjoy things that maybe people would be like, but then also that's quite nice. That's quite a pretty thing to see at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And then this is like amazing the processing you did here. It is very different than the other photos I've seen from you, but it at the same time it's still very powerful somehow, you know?
Thank you.
Very
So that's the one time we asked someone, and that was actually Julia that asked if we could take a photo of him. Um, yeah, it's
yeah,
the first and
see?
only time. But I didn't ask; she did.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, one of the best pictures I have is the one time I did ask one time somebody, "Can I take your picture?" And it's one of mine. It's like this. It's like one of the pictures I'm really proud of. Maybe it's not a great picture, but when I look at it, I'm like, wow, that picture is amazing.
Well,
Because
you saw the potential in it to the point that you felt that you wanted to ask. So
yeah, yeah. And then this one here, this looks like sort of a business type. Like this is one you would use or promote on your website for business.
I enjoy taking portraits, and it's just
Hmm.
I want to start taking more portraits where things are planned, makeup. Not that this person's wearing makeup, but like dressing up and planning something, going to a forest and putting on like skeleton makeup or something like that. I'd like what I want to do within this next year is actually start actually taking more planned photographs, conceptualized photographs that actually take some teamwork, maybe a couple of other people. Um, I don't know how I got onto that with this, but I do. I very much enjoy taking portraits. I just don't take that much portraits because I just don't, and I really should because I want to.
Yeah, it's definitely you definitely have a really huge head start here. I would kill to be able to take a portrait like this. Um, and this is just another example. It's amazing. Really, I think you're really able to focus on what's important in a person and the kind of feeling that you want to give in your photo, either through your editing or through the taking the picture itself with the lighting and stuff. And I I don't know how you do it now. Someone made a comment about this image here. I'll share it with you. Um, from Christine. He says, she loves the vastness of the space around the surfer and the red jacket. For me, it's a great story. So someone loved
Thank
this
you.
photo here. And let's see. Let me thanks for getting okay. Um let me go ahead and wrap it up here for you because I don't want to keep you too long from your work or uh your day off here. But I really appreciate um you coming onto the show today. I guess I did have a couple of more questions.
You're
Um,
welcome to ask them if you have the time for it. If you'd like to, you're more than welcome to ask some more questions if you'd like to.
I mean, it's kind of probably you're so young to photography or new to photography because, like I said, 2018, and there's people here that have been doing it for decades and have
Now
huge.
I'm starting to get nervous that it might have been the end of 2017, but I'm certain it was the end of 2018. I'm certain it was the end of 2018.
Trust me, it doesn't matter. It's very recent. Okay, when you're comparing just a few years to people that I know here have had very successful photography careers. They were back when film was kind of the thing, right? Uh, and have actually some recognition, uh, in their industry. I'm very fortunate to have the kind of viewers that I do. So again, let me thank my viewers for being here for this today. I really wanted to bring someone relatively new. I didn't realize you were that new because from the work that I'm seeing, it's really amazing. Um, but this question doesn't seem relevant anymore now, knowing that you've only been shooting for a few years. But I wanted to ask you a quick question. Like, if you could only have like one camera and one lens, what would it be?
It would be the S5 with the 24 to 105 f4 because I still don't have a favorite focal length, so I feel like that's a safe option.
Yeah, yeah. Safe choice. Very good. And then I guess what do you use for photo editing software?
I use Adobe products, so I shoot raw. So most of my editing is done in the Camera Raw editor, which is essentially Lightroom, and I just finish it off in Photoshop. I sharpen my photos in Photoshop and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. So Lightroom is just sort of the for the framing and composition, and then you go into Photoshop to do all of your editing.
Oh no, I do all of the most of my editing is Lightroom.
Oh, okay, in Lightroom. Okay.
Hmm.
And I think you've answered this question, but if you were to be tested on something other than photography, what would you do? What would you take?
Human biology.
Human biology. Yeah, I knew
But
you were
please
like Leon
don't ask me any of those questions now, please.
no, no, no. But I was like, I knew you were like Leonardo da Vinci because he studied the human body a lot for his paintings and things. Um,
I love anything to do with the human body, anatomy. I studied anatomy and human anatomy and biological anthropology for a few years as well. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I saw one of your Instagram posts that was uh, I don't know if it was an MRI or some kind of scan of the optic nerves of your eyes going into your brain. That was really interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the stuff I did before I shifted over.
wow. So does that give you any insight into I don't know how what you see with your own eyes versus what the camera sees?
Um, I think that's I don't know. No, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know
It's
how to answer
okay.
that question.
It's okay. 'Cause a lot of times I tell people, I like to uh, do as much as I can in camera while I'm in the field because I'm looking at it with my own eyes, and then I can see what the camera's doing. It's easier for me than taking the picture, then coming back and doing the editing because I'm not there anymore, seeing it with my own eyes. So I that's just how I learn to to get the exposures and colors and things that I want in the photo is I'm very conscious of what I'm seeing with my own eyes and then deliberately looking at the picture after I take it to see how different is what the camera captured versus what I'm seeing. And then and that's how I learn to take better pictures or get better exposure anyway and get the kind of colors and things that I want. Uh, but I had never studied the human eye or even thought about, but I heard like the retina is like the size of a pin, like really tiny. It's amazing.
S So what you saw there, I didn't study the eye, I studied the brain. So it was about the
Mhm.
optic pathway going into the brain.
Mhm.
So I actually don't know that much about eyes. I know a little bit, but not that much.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, I think that about sums it up. I mean, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. It's already been over an hour, but I really appreciate you coming on today and I hope we can have you on again soon. I'd like to bring you back in maybe 6 months or so and see where you've gone and how far you've gone because I really I'm so impressed with what you've done and you've talked about that you really love photography and videography and you also have that discipline as well. Um, and that's very rare, I think, um, to find someone like yourself in this particular field. Um, there's so many people that are focused on one or two things, I think, and it's really a an honor and privilege to meet you and get to know you
No,
today. And I
no,
hope my
the
viewers
privilege is mine.
well, I hope my viewers I really strongly recommend you guys check her out. She definitely has her own voice in photography and videography. I really enjoyed her short films in particular. I strongly suggest you watch those because they're just a wonderful message. I think that um, you can take to heart in your own work and photography and find your own voice because that's what you do. Is one of the other things besides being very humble and honest. You're not preachy at all, right? You don't try to influence other people's thoughts or behaviors at all. You just want to share with them and expand what they can do, not change what they want to do. I thought
You've
was
you've you've kind of hit the nail on the head on how I try to do things on my YouTube channel. I try not to tell people what to do, rather just like you said, just show them how they do things and they can do what they want with that information.
yeah, and
So that really is like what I try to do.
and you definitely you're that's exactly the impression I got was like I said, you're not preachy, you're not judgmental, you're just an open, honest person trying to share your passion with others and also bring joy to others as well. Hopefully that they can find that in their own world. So again, thanks so much, Natalie. I'll be in touch and following you on Instagram and your YouTube channel. and I hope my followers will too. I strongly recommend it. So thanks for coming on today. I'll let you go.
Thanks,
Did you
Rob.
have any
Thank you
last
so
words?
much.
Sorry,
I
just
wanted to say
one.
thank you to you. Yeah.
Yeah, any last words for the viewers anyway? Uh,
I just wanted to say thank you to you for inviting me, and also thank you for everyone for taking the time to be here. I do appreciate it. And
okay.
hopefully, I'll see you within the next like 6 months.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. I look forward to it. Okay, you have a great weekend, Natalie. Thanks for coming
You
on.
too.
Okay,
Bye, Rob. Bye,
bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, getting to know Natalie and her work and her thought process and how creative she is. I think she was really a gem in the photography world, and I look forward to everything that she's going to be doing in the future, and I hope to have her back again in 6 months and see what she's done for us then. So you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back next week on Thursday as usual, but um, I I'm so happy she was able to join us today, and I'm so glad I could that you guys were here with me to share or get to know Natalie. So you guys have a good weekend. Thanks for joining me today.